my names, as you know, Wajackoyah. I'm a Kenyan. I was born in 1959, October 24th. My parents divorced when I was a young boy. And then a lot of things happened. Many years down, I found myself in the streets of Nairobi. And after that, I was taken by Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Became a devotee, and they took me to school. And then Mr. Ramlal Sharma of City High School, Ramlal Sharma, the principal of City High School, who was also a worshipper in the temple, took charge of me and took me to his school. He gave me a small place to stay in order to go to school. Some jobs that I did, manual jobs. I finished Form 4, and then J.J. Kemunto took me as his son, the late minister for, then he was basic education. Jonathan Ngeno was higher education. Then he paid for my fees for Mumia's boys, Form 5 and Form 6, 80, 81. And after that, I did not have good grades to go to the university because it was a new school. But however I tried, I missed university by 2 points. Then later on, I joined the Kenya Police as a police constable, where I found people like Mbugwa, the current director, Deputy Inspector General of Police. I found the regional, the current regional police commander in Nyeri, and many others who are in senior rank. After our initial training in Kiganjo, as a constable, I was posted to Central Police Station, Nairobi. Then, after serving, we were called back to Kiganjo because of the A level. And then again, I met my friend Mbugwa, the Deputy Inspector General, in the same class. Then after that, I came and worked at Pangani Police Station. Then I went to Kasarani Police Station. I worked for some time before I joined the Intelligence, Directorate of Security Intelligence. By then it was known as a Special Branch. Then having worked for many years there, I got a scholarship to go and study in KIA for 1 year, study French, with the current ambassador of Iran, Mr. Gatimu, Joshua Gatimu, who was also my colleague. Then after that, again, we excelled in exams at Kenya Institute of Administration, which is now currently University of Nairobi in Kabete, and went to University of Burundi for advanced diploma in French. Then when I came back, I was put to be in charge of Dr. Uko. For the first time, I will speak about Uko as we continue. I've never spoken before, but today I will speak, if you allow me. Because of the honor I have for the Daily Nation, I think this is the first time that I want to speak my mind. When Uko was murdered, there was a lot of contradictory stories. Then I was commissioned by Mr. Kemunto, the then director of intelligence, a good man indeed. I think he trusted me, and he asked me to find out from the system who might have been involved. And we did what we did. And then there was some attempt to cover up Uko's story. But as usual, I was on the resisting side, because you cannot alter or doctor the gadgets that we were using, especially the telephone communications that we were using by that time. I'm speaking for the first time, because I'm going to be the president of this country, and people are going to ask, what did you know? Even though I will not give the specific details. Today you are here for my presidential candidature. And when we found out what we found out, and the coverage, those who wanted us to cover, and the change of guard in the intelligence by that time, when Kemunto was retired, Kivuvani took over, things went upside down. And then I was detained, tortured properly. And it was as a result of that that the U.S. Embassy, through Smith Hempston, who was again agitating with the people like Raila Odinga, Paul Mwite, Gitobi Manyara, when they were agitating for change in this country. That's the time when all of us were circled, them from the political wing and us from the intelligence wing. So the torture was so enormous that I couldn't survive, so I was taken to hospital. Mockery to the Fosso Memorial Hospital with an envelope. And the main intention, I don't know what was in that envelope. But what I saw is that there was a big shock of a man who was actually there. I cannot name his name, but he was a good man. He was a brigadier doctor in the army in charge of duties at the Fosso Memorial Hospital. So he whisked me away in another room. And those who took me there was very suspicious. Probably that was an attempt to clear me off, because a lot of my colleagues were killed in different, and nobody has ever come out to challenge this. Well, after that, with a lot of issues that were going on, sometimes they could blindfold me. Before I was taken to hospital, they could blindfold me in a place I didn't know, then open my site at the city mortuary at night. And that's why I inhaled eczema. So that was maximum psychological torture, emotional torture. And as God may have planned for me to escape, the Americans through Smith Armstrong assisted me. They took me to wherever, and I found myself in Germany. I left by Lufthansa, cargo plane. I never knew what was going on. And am I boring you?
No. In fact, I wanted to ask so much about the Uko matter.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Then I definitely ended up in Britain on the way to the United States, but there was a lot of things that happened which I'm not going into details. So the British decided to retain me, and 3 weeks after that, Ndolo Aya, the then Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Elijah Mwangali, the then Minister of Agriculture, were dispatched to London to find out whether I could be extradited back to Kenya. But as fate will make it, media, you guys, media, saved my life, because something went into the media, and Glenda Jackson, MP for Hampstead and Keith, and also some serious journalists from the Times newspaper in London, and the tabloids took over my story, and it became a trending story in London at that particular time, and that's what saved me. So I lived quietly. I was given a different name, and I was taken to a place of the homeless in Camden Town, where I stayed with the homeless people to cover me not to be recognized until it was right for me to now go to school. But then going to school was another issue. But I have also to thank Honorable James Orengo and Mr. Ward, the father of Julie Ward, for playing a critical role in sending my papers from schools here to enable me to go to school. Orengo is a great man. Orengo is one of those people that I will mention wherever I go as good people and men of honor. I'm also thankful to Raila Odinga. That particular time he was an MP, I think, and also Mrs. Ndetei. Mrs. Ndetei, I think, was an MP, for taking over the story and going to Parliament to tabulate it. The rest you can find out. This is a true story, and I have to insist it's a true story. Then the Moi regime took what they could do. They took us to court. They took the Times to court. They took any newspaper that I had spoken to court, and Biwott and other people. And then in the long run again, I found myself at the University of Wolverhampton, Holborn College, but I didn't have the fee. So I had to do manual jobs, to do grave digging. I was a security guard, and life went on as normal under the name George Walker. George Walker, which appeared in all my documents. I can reveal because it's over 30 years now. Then I finished my bachelor's of law degree, and I went on and did what I did. Went to many universities, became an academic, became a foot soldier for Raila's father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, when he came to be treated for his eyes, when he was being treated by Dr. Wino, who is still alive. He's a surgeon in London. and the late Osumbalangi, who was also giving the late Jaramogi accommodation. And that's when now we became custodians of Raila Odinga whenever he came to London. Sir David Steele, who is now Lord Steele, was the leader for Liberal Democrats, actually made a ring for us to follow Raila, to make sure that he was not attacked, even though the British government was also doing its work, as we were careful with him wherever Kenyans gatherings were. So Raila owes me a lot, and I respect him a lot on that one. After that, I became a lawyer, raised my family, and I received a lot of threats in London, which I'm not going to go in details. The case of Dr. Uko is still in court, couldn't go beyond what is in court, and I knew you were going to ask me that. I will preempt you in advance. So that's where we go as far as that is concerned. American, she works in the US, where she stays now, and I'm here.
How many?
I don't want to name. Probably when I die there will be more, so I'll be doing a disservice. You know, we lawyers, when we die, like my friend, the late Juma, a lot of children came out, but I believe that my children are just the same ones I have. I don't have any things out there. And I have a daughter here. Her name is Maureen, whom I had before I left. And we are in communication.
For a long time you were
Exile for so many years,
how many?
from 1991 you can count, until 2012 when I came back. While in exile, I joined the pressure groups to put pressure on Kenya. And when I was a student leader at the University of London, School of Oriental and African Studies, I invited the likes of Dennis Akumu, the late Dr. Liki, Koigi Wamwere, and we put a lot of pressure on Moi. So we fought for the second liberation. But because at that time there was a lot of issues here, nobody would recognize that, but Raila recognizes that. Then I worked quietly, and I went to various universities to study. And I became accustomed to being a security guard. I mean, that was the best thing, and digging graves. It gave me that harmony, whereby I could do my work. I loved it. I also worked at the Royal Free Hospital as a morgue attendant, where the late Wamalu, whose home is this one, was taken many years later. And I also watched those red buses. Let me say I did all the jobs that people do. And that was the best thing that happened to me. It matured me up. And I became involved in a lot of liberation struggles for South Africa, Ethiopia, the Eritrea. Also part of the Angola, involved in the Angola struggle. I was also involved in the SWAPO struggle. And I was also involved in the struggle here. Wanted to bring up change by force, by teeth, by arms. We did what we wanted to do, to bring justice. While the groups of Railas were fighting here, us with others were fighting from outside. And we were prepared to do whatever it could take to bring down the then dictatorial government. And that became something that has helped me to earn a lot of marks with world leaders who are struggling. We were also part of the Joe Rawlings group, pressure group. We did a lot of things in West Africa, which I'm not going to divulge. And we've done a lot of things in East Timor. We were part of the support group, supporting the Timorians to become independent from Indonesia by contributing money, so getting money and contributing. We have also done quite a lot of things in this Africa, the countries that I'm not going to mention. But when I became a practitioner, a legal practitioner, the crusade now changed from armed struggle, because I was agitating for overthrow of some regimes in different parts of the world. Then I joined Sub-Commandant Marcos to liberate the Chiapas from Mexico. I also worked indirectly or directly with the Sinn Féin, the Irish Republicans who were trying to fight in Britain. I think I was the only black one who was associated with Jerry Rawlings and McGuinness. And when the nation of Ireland became free, Northern Ireland became free, I think I also became free. And I learned a lot of things from people who were in exile. I was part of the Southern Sudanese Liberation Movement. Because I didn't have so much to do other than going to school, working as a grave digger and what have you, and then fighting to liberate and democratize some of these nations. So my hand is everywhere. I've been received by many governments as a true friend of the Sudanese people during Garang's regime. I've been received by the Museveni government. I don't want to go into details. I've been received by Nigerians as an advisor to the former president, Jonathan Goodluck. You can check those facts. I've been received in Ghana. And I remember when there was an attempted coup, so-called imaginary attempted coup on Moi, there are those people who were taken to Uganda. I was part of the team that pushed them from Uganda to Ghana. And that's why I've been very close to Jerry Rawlings. And I'm happy to be home because what we wanted has come to pass.
Now tell us about how you came back to Kenya in 2012.
Yes, I talked to my American friends. I talked to congressional members. I talked to some members of the House of Lords in London. And I also talked to some international organizations to speak to the Kenyan government to guarantee my return. Because by that time, Kibaki was the president, Moi was still alive, Biwott was still alive, and I didn't know what was going to happen. So my first coming to run for president was not realistic. It was to cover me, to be present. So one of the things that we planned out there is that I come and announce as a presidential candidate. Then we formed a political party which was refused registration. And I am thankful to President Kibaki, and I'm not going to go into details. What I know is that my security was guaranteed, and I'm also thankful to Uhuru Kenyatta, but most importantly, Raila Odinga, because Raila knows a lot about me, and Raila did not want to put me up front. He did not want to identify himself with me for my own security, because part of the people that I had named as killers of Dr. Huko are still alive, of which I'm not going to name, but it was that time I was gagged by the courts. So Raila played a big role in my life here because, one, if he had identified me, or identified himself with me, could have been cooked meat. So his wisdom also kept me moving. And the Odinga family, I can assure you, even if we are on the ballot today, his pushing me aside was well intended and calculated. His father, whom I helped so much as his foot soldier, also encouraged me to move on. He used to call me Ruat. Ruat in my language means Shimos, and a small calf. He came one day and he told me, son, thank you. The only thing I can do for you, he liked to eat murenda and ile ugali ya wimbi. And he tell me, son, Mom, when I go back to Kenya, I'm going to speak to Masinde Mliro. Masinde must come and see you. Masinde will come and see you, Ogwethi. So we organized and Masinde came to see me through Oginga Odinga himself. And then things happened and he died. And I will speak on Masinde's issues when the right time comes as well.
So you're still in...
They are the remnants of the mentors. Of course they are there, but majority of them have died. Bad luck. I have nothing to do with their death. Some of them just died when I'm still alive. And What can I say? Unfortunately, they died when I had returned.
Would you mind naming some of those who have died?
No, I cannot, as I said before.
Okay. When you assume presidency, will you revenge on the remnants?
We shall decide to do when we arrive there.
Okay. So what does that mean?
Well, let's wait until I become the president, then you'll see what I have in my boot. I can't reveal because I don't know whether I will win or not.
Okay. Now that you have stayed outside the country for so long, what's your allegiance?
My allegiance is to God only and God.